I never imagined I'd find myself typing out something this surreal, but here I am, 32 years old, and my husband's sister just demanded I give her my unborn child as a birthday gift. Even worse? My mother-in-law backed her up like it was the most normal request in the world. When I refused, as any sane person would, Lily retaliated by spreading vicious rumors about me. Let me rewind a bit. My husband, Daniel, 35M, and I met in college while studying business. He was a year ahead of me, and we instantly bonded over our mutual love of cheesy 80s films and cringeworthy puns. 3 years of dating later, we tied the knot in an intimate ceremony. It was almost perfect, except for Lily. At 19, Lily was already a walking tornado of entitlement. She threw a tantrum at our wedding because she wasn't chosen as my maid of honor, never mind the fact that we'd barely spoken before and I have a sister of my own. She sulked the entire ceremony and even managed to spill red wine on my dress at the reception. Looking back, I should have taken it as a warning sign. Daniel and I have now been married for 8 years, and we have a sweet 4-year-old son named Noah. I work as a project manager in a tech firm, and Daniel owns a small accounting business. We're not rolling in money, but our life is comfortable and fulfilling. Lily, on the other hand, still living at home in the same enormous house she grew up in, completely jobless, she never even worked a summer job in high school. Her days revolve around shopping sprees, beauty treatments, and partying with her equally shallow circle of friends. Daniel once suggested she consider, working, and she laughed in his face. "Why would I work when Daddy buys me everything I want?" she said, completely serious. My in-laws, especially my mother-in-law Carol, 58F, have always treated Lily like royalty. They fund her entire lifestyle, designer clothes, exotic vacations, even her car. Last year, they bought her a brand new BMW because her 2-year-old Audi didn't match her vibe anymore. Meanwhile, when Daniel upgraded his decade-old sedan, they scolded him for being wasteful. Carol's husband, Alan, 60M, is largely absent, constantly working to keep the money flowing. He owns a successful chain of car dealerships. That's where the wealth comes from. There are whispers that he's having an affair, but Carol turns a blind eye as long as her spending isn't interrupted. Growing up, Daniel was the responsible one. He got a part-time job at 16 and worked his way through college. Lily? She got whatever she wanted and never had to face consequences for anything. That dynamic hasn't changed. She's still the golden child who can do no wrong. Now, here's where things take a nosedive into complete madness. Last month, Carol called me out of nowhere and asked if I'd meet her for lunch. It caught me off guard. We've never been close. She's always been polite on the surface, but she clearly looks down on my humble background. Both my parents are teachers, and I've caught her throwing shade about that more than once. Still, for the sake of family harmony, I agreed. We met at a fancy restaurant, Carol's pick, obviously. I thought she wanted to chat about Lily's upcoming 28th birthday. Maybe she needed help picking out a gift? Nope. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "We want you to have another baby, and give it to Lily as her birthday present." I nearly spit out my water. I asked her to repeat herself, thinking I'd misheard. But she meant it. Every word. She launched into this speech about how Lily was feeling empty and directionless, and how a baby could give her a sense of purpose. Apparently, Lily had been moaning about being single while all her friends were settling down. And instead of suggesting she grow up and take responsibility for her own life, Carol thought I should hand her a child. I honestly don't even know what kind of twisted logic Carol used to come up with this plan. It was beyond belief. I sat there stunned, unable to form words. When I finally managed to speak, I told her in no uncertain terms, absolutely not. I laid out just how absurd and unethical her proposal was, thinking surely she'd see reason. But no, she doubled down. She calmly told me it would only take 9 months of my life, that I'd barely noticed the pregnancy since I'd already gone through it once. Then, as if that wasn't insulting enough, she had the nerve to try and guilt me into it. According to her, I owed this to Lily, because apparently, the $300 handbag we gave her for her last birthday wasn't meaningful enough. That was already a stretch for us financially, but to her, it was practically an insult. She even said I should be honored to help Lily become a mother. I walked out of that restaurant in a daze, completely floored. On the drive home, all I could think was, how did we even get here? Was this really the same family I'd married into? My mind spiraled back through years of little moments and subtle red flags. The way Carol always praised Lily's natural beauty, while making snide remarks about my looks. How Alan dismissed Lily's bad behavior as mere spunk. How every family event somehow became about Lily, her drama, her desires, her mood. And I'd put up with it for the sake of peace. When I got home and told Daniel what had happened, he thought I was joking at first. The look on his face when he realized I was serious? Pure horror. He grabbed his phone and called his mother immediately to confront her. She hung up on him. We spent that entire night trying to wrap our heads around it. Daniel was furious and mortified. He kept apologizing over and over for his family, even though none of it was his fault. Over the next week, things escalated. We were bombarded with texts and calls from Carol and Lily. They couldn't comprehend why we were being so selfish and cruel. Lily even started posting cryptic messages on social media about how some people will never understand the pain of being childless, painting herself as the poor, heartbroken victim. Of course, she left out the part where she asked for someone else's baby like it was a handbag. Every notification made me feel sick. I started dreading even picking up my phone. Every ding or buzz made my stomach twist. Was it another guilt trip? Another voicemail full of passive-aggressive pity? Daniel kept trying to talk sense into them, explaining how completely inappropriate and hurtful their request was. But they only accused him of being brainwashed by me. The whole thing dragged up a lot of unresolved pain for him, things he'd buried for years. He started opening up about how Lily always got the biggest presents at Christmas, how his milestones were barely acknowledged while Lily's every whim was celebrated. It was like a dam broke, and years of resentment came flooding out. I'm emotionally exhausted. I've blocked both Carol and Lily on my phone and social media, but they keep finding new ways to reach us. Carol even started calling our emergency landline, and Lily showed up at Daniel's office. He's stuck, torn between standing by me and not completely severing ties with his family. He knows they're in the wrong, but decades of being trained to tiptoe around them makes it hard to fully confront it. And the worst part? I don't think they even understand what they're asking for. This isn't just about 9 months of pregnancy. It's about the lifelong emotional toll, the legal nightmare, the impact on our son. Do they really believe we could just grow a baby and hand it over like a gift bag? Do they not realize how deeply traumatic that would be for everyone involved, including the child? This whole nightmare has shaken me to my core. Am I overreacting? Should I have drawn firmer boundaries with them years ago? And now, how do I shield my family from their madness without completely burning every bridge? I feel like I'm out of options. Update 1. Things have escalated. First of all, thank you, truly, for all the support and advice. Your comments have been a lifeline through this storm, and I've drawn so much strength from knowing I'm not alone. Since my last post, things have gone from bad to worse. After we blocked Carol and Lily, we thought maybe, they'd finally back off. We were wrong. They started showing up at our house. Uninvited. The first time, I was home alone with Noah. Lily just walked in, rambling excitedly about nursery themes and baby names, acting like we'd agreed to her absurd fantasy. I told her, firmly, to leave. She refused, insisting she had a right to be involved in her baby's life. I had to threaten to call the police before she finally stormed out. The whole thing dredged up memories from when Noah was born. Lily had shown up at the hospital without warning, demanding to be in the delivery room. When we told her no, she threw a fit so loud and dramatic that hospital security had to escort her out. Carol later scolded us, saying we'd been cruel for excluding Lily from such a special family moment. The very next day, Carol came by while Daniel was home. She tried to reason with him, using the same manipulative language. Don't you want your sister to be happy? It's just one baby. You can always have more. Then she actually had the audacity to bring up their childhood, claiming Lily had always shared so generously with Daniel. What she meant, of course, was the time Lily reluctantly let him touch her toys for 5 minutes while throwing a tantrum. That was the last straw for Daniel. He snapped. He told them, loudly and clearly, to stay away from us. But the worst part? It hadn't even happened yet. Last weekend, we went to a family gathering at Daniel's cousin's house. We were hesitant, but we thought being around other relatives might help keep things civil. Plus, we didn't want to let Carol and Lily think they'd succeeded in driving us away from the family. Big mistake. The event was meant to celebrate Daniel's grandparents' 60th wedding anniversary. A beautiful milestone. It should have been a warm, joyful day focused on 2 people who built a life together over 6 decades. Instead, It turned into an absolute circus because of Lily. She showed up wearing a fake baby bump. Yes, really. She stuffed a pillow under her dress and went around the party telling everyone she was 7 months pregnant, thanks to us. That we had agreed to be her surrogates. People were congratulating her, hugging her, asking questions about the due date. I was furious. I confronted her right then and there, in front of everyone, and exposed the lie. She immediately burst into tears, accusing me of trying to ruin her happiness. Carol jumped in, calling me a selfish witch for refusing to share my fertility. The family was split. Some relatives were visibly shocked and disturbed by what Lily and Carol were doing. Others seemed to think we were being unnecessarily harsh because family helps family. One even suggested we should at least consider it. It felt like I'd stepped into an alternate reality where nothing made sense anymore, where this monstrous request was seen as even remotely reasonable. The whole time, I kept glancing at Noah. He was laughing, playing with his cousins, completely unaware of the chaos unspooling just a few feet away. But I couldn't stop thinking, what if Lily's delusion deepens? What if one day she tries to take him, convinced he's the baby she's meant to have? We left the party early, both of us rattled. On the drive home, Daniel finally admitted that we needed to take more drastic action. We're now speaking with a lawyer about getting a restraining order. This ordeal has cracked open so many things in our marriage, too. Daniel is riddled with guilt, feeling like he should have seen the warning signs, like he should have taken a firmer stand long ago. I don't want to blame him, but it's hard not to feel frustrated. Lily's entitlement didn't come out of nowhere, it was nurtured and ignored for decades. I'm completely drained. My work has started to suffer, I've missed deadlines, snapped at coworkers, and just can't seem to focus anymore. Our home, which used to be peaceful, now feels tense and uncertain. Every time the phone rings or someone knocks, we both jump. Even Noah has started noticing. He's been asking why Grandma and Aunt Lily don't visit anymore. And honestly, how do I explain this to a 4-year-old? How do I tell him that his aunt wants me to give her a baby? That his grandmother thinks that's perfectly reasonable? I wish I had answers. But right now, all I have are questions and a desperate need to protect my family from whatever comes next. Update 2. Things have gotten even worse. We're now seriously considering moving to a different city just to escape this chaos. Daniel's work is flexible. He has clients in multiple states, so relocating wouldn't be too difficult for him. I could probably transfer within my company too. But the thought of uprooting our entire lives because of Lily's delusions feels so wrong. Why should we be the ones to leave? We didn't cause any of this. I keep replaying that lunch with Carol in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. Should I have been more forceful? Should I have immediately told Alan what was happening? Hindsight makes everything blurry with what-ifs. Has anyone dealt with this level of family harassment or stalking? How do you protect yourself legally? I feel like I'm drowning in crazy and can't find my way back to solid ground. Update 3. She took it public. First, thank you again to everyone who's commented, messaged, or just read along. Your support has meant more than I can say. I wish I had better news, but unfortunately, things have taken yet another disturbing turn. After that awful family gathering, Daniel and I went into full lockdown mode. We pulled back from social media, changed our routines, told our friends to keep any information about us private. We figured if we cut off the drama supply, maybe Lily and Carol would lose interest. And for about a week, it actually worked. No texts, no surprise visits, no guilt-tripping Facebook posts. We started to breathe again, cautiously hopeful that we'd turned a corner. But of course, Lily found a new way to escalate things. She made a GoFundMe. The title? Help Lily Become a Mom. The description was a web of lies. She claimed she was struggling with infertility, completely false, and that I, her generous sister-in-law, had offered to be her surrogate, only to cruelly back out. She posted pictures of herself wearing that ridiculous fake baby bump. Worse, she used old photos of Daniel, Noah, and me to make it look like we were denying her the same joy we had as parents. The page spread quickly around our small town. Suddenly, people I'd known for years, people who saw me pregnant with Noah, were giving me side eyes at the grocery store. I overheard strangers whispering, judging me for keeping a baby from a woman who couldn't have one. Even my local mom group ghosted me. No more invites. No more check-ins. It was like my entire support network evaporated overnight. Then came the most humiliating blow. My boss called me into her office. She'd received multiple anonymous calls claiming I was planning to quit my job to become a surrogate. I knew instantly it was Lily or Carol. They were trying to sabotage my career, maybe to pressure me into saying yes, maybe just to punish me. Thankfully, my boss was understanding once I explained. But I was mortified. I've worked hard for my career. To see it almost torpedoed by this madness was terrifying. We finally took legal action. Our lawyer helped us send cease and desist letters to both Lily and Carol. We also reported the GoFundMe page, which was thankfully taken down, but not before screenshots spread like wildfire. The damage had already been done. The lie had taken on a life of its own. That was the final straw for Daniel. He called his father, Robert, who had mostly stayed silent through all of this, and laid everything out. Every text, every stunt, every humiliating escalation. To his credit, Alan was horrified. He promised to intervene and speak with both of them. We're cautiously optimistic, but also realistic. We know this isn't over. We've since installed security cameras around our home. We're saving every message, documenting every incident. Our lawyer is preparing paperwork in case we need to file for a restraining order. Emotionally, I'm completely depleted, but underneath that exhaustion is a growing fury. All of this because I said no. One word. One very reasonable, necessary boundary. And suddenly I'm the villain in someone else's twisted fantasy. I keep thinking back over the years. All the times we excused Lily's behavior for the sake of family harmony. All the times we laughed off her drama or gave her the benefit of the doubt. I see now how those small compromises added up, and now here we are. I don't know how this ends. But I do know this. I will protect my son and my family. I'm done playing nice. Update 4. A turning point, but we're not letting our guard down. There's something oddly peaceful now in the silence, after all the times we let Carol's passive-aggressive jabs slide or tolerated Lily's outbursts for the sake of family peace. But looking back, all those little moments, the subtle digs, the unspoken boundaries crossed, were warning signs we didn't take seriously enough. Have any of you gone through something like this? Where family members publicly lied about you, and you had to claw your way back to reclaim your reputation? How do you explain to a 4-year-old why people in town are suddenly being cruel to his parents? Noah's questions break my heart. He's too young to carry any of this weight. Update 5. The fallout and what comes next. The last couple of weeks have been an emotional whirlwind, and I'm still processing all of it, but I wanted to share where things stand now. First, finally, some good news. Robert, my father-in-law, stepped up. After Daniel's call, Alan dug deeper and learned just how far Lily and Carol had taken things. He was furious. He immediately cut off Lily's allowance and told Carol, point blank, that if the harassment didn't stop, he would divorce her. That sparked a full-blown family explosion. Lily threw an epic tantrum, sobbing that Alan ever loved her. She dredged up ancient childhood wounds and accused him of always favoring Daniel. She even claimed he was emotionally abusive for expecting her to get a job. Carol tried to spin it all as a misunderstanding, saying Lily was just struggling and needed support, but for once, Alan didn't budge. He stood firm. What surprised me most was that he apologized. To both Daniel and me. He admitted that he'd been so focused on providing for his family financially, he'd neglected the emotional side. It was a rare moment of honesty and vulnerability from someone I've always seen as guarded and stoic. Unfortunately, Lily didn't take her loss quietly. Cut off financially, she tried one last desperate stunt. She went to a local news station, hoping to get her sob story aired. She told them she was an infertile woman, still not true, who had been cruelly betrayed by her own family. Thankfully, the reporter did their homework. They contacted us, asked for our side, and eventually decided not to run the story. But it was far too close for comfort. Oddly enough, that seemed to snap something in Carol. Maybe realizing her lifestyle was genuinely at risk, she finally backed down. She sent us a long email, apologizing for everything, for enabling Lily, for not listening, for pushing us too far. And while the apology seemed heartfelt, Daniel and I aren't ready to just forgive and forget. The emotional toll this has taken is hard to explain. We've had to sit Noah down and, in the gentlest terms possible, explain why he hasn't seen Grandma or Aunt Lily lately. We didn't want to lie, but he's only 4, so we've said that sometimes adults make choices that aren't safe or kind, and we need space right now to keep our family safe and happy. Meanwhile, in the community, there's been some whiplash. A few people apologized after learning the truth. Others are keeping their distance. That part still stings, but we're trying to focus on what really matters. To give ourselves some breathing room, we've decided to take a month-long vacation to a place we've always dreamed of visiting. We want to make new, good memories, just the three of us. A fresh reset. When we get back, we plan to start family therapy not with Lily or Carol, but just for us. We've been through so much, and our relationship has carried more strain than it should have. We want to make sure we're aligned, that we're rebuilding from a solid place. And we want to be the best possible parents for Noah, especially now. As for Lily, last we heard, she's reluctantly job hunting. Without her allowance, she's finally being forced to live in reality for the first time. Carol is still trying to mend things with Robert. Most of Daniel's extended family has been supportive. Some even apologized for not speaking up sooner, for letting this escalate the way it did. I'm cautiously optimistic, but not naive. This whole experience has changed us. We've learned that even people you've known for decades can surprise you in the worst ways. We still have our lawyer on speed dial. We're still documenting everything. And most importantly, we're done letting other people's dysfunction define the shape of our lives. We're also seriously considering making this temporary move a permanent one, depending on how things feel when we return. A fresh start somewhere new might be exactly what we need, a place where our family can grow without the shadow of constant drama. Through all of this, I've been truly amazed by Daniel's strength. He's had to face some painful truths about his family and the way he was raised, and that hasn't been easy. But not once has he faltered in standing by me or protecting Noah. If anything, this chaos has pulled us even closer together, not just as partners, but as parents, too. This whole ordeal has tested us in ways I never could have imagined. But we're coming out of it stronger, more unified, and more determined to build a life that feels safe, healthy, and fully our own. And here's what I'll tell you at the very end. You watch to the end, which means you'll like the other format of long stories on this channel.